Well, good afternoon or good morning, whatever time of the day it is you're watching this program. We're very, very grateful that you joined us. My name is Ben Gates, and I direct the campus ministry program here at Purdue Fort Wayne and also down the street at Indiana Institute of Technology. And you've tuned into what we call the Campus Ministry Business Forum Luncheon. It's a co-sponsored event sponsored by Campus Ministry and also the Dormer School of Business. We invite, as you can see here, students, faculty, and staff to join a local entrepreneur or CEO, businessman or woman around the table for lunch. And we ask the speaker to share with us their thoughts on success in the marketplace and the importance of character and integrity and so forth. But the bulk of the time is the students and faculty asking questions. So we're hoping for a lively conversation today. Our speaker is Jeff Hoffman. Jeff has owned local Chick-Fil-A franchises for 17 years here in the Fort Wayne area, for 16 down at Jefferson Point out southwest, and now, of course, if you're from Fort Wayne, you know we've got a new Chick-fil-A right here on Coliseum Boulevard that opened right next to Glenbrook Mall, and he's the owner of that restaurant. He attended Fort Wayne Bible College back when there was a Fort Wayne Bible College to attend here locally. Of course, it became Taylor, Fort Wayne, and then it is not in existence any longer. But then he went on to Westminster Seminary in Philadelphia, great seminary, earned 2 degrees, culminating in a Master of Divinity degree there. He is married, has been married over 30 years, and has 2 adult children. One is a math professor at Huntington University, and the other one works for him here, and he told me is about to have a baby. So how many grandchildren?
That'll make 2.
2, great. So we're very, very delighted to have Jeff here with us today. I'm going to turn the program over to him, and he's going to tell us more of his story, and then, as I said, the students and the faculty and staff will ask questions. So I hope you enjoy the program. If you want to find out more about campus ministry, all you have to do is go to our website, which is pfw.edu/ministry. And I'll tell you all about campus ministry. And by the way, I want to say for the students here today, there's literature about campus ministry on the back table. And if you'd be interested in receiving a devotional that I write every Monday morning and email it out to about 1,400 people, there's a sign-up sheet in the back to receive that. And we'd be very happy to send it to you. So, without any further delay, Jeff Hoffman.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate that. Normally I stand up when I talk, but I'll try this sitting down thing. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. It's my privilege and my pleasure to be here to share with you. If you have a Chick-fil-A box meal there in front of you, please be honest with me. Raise your hand if this is the first time you've ever eaten Chick-fil-A. Just raise your hand. Be honest. One young lady, very good. I'm glad you're a part of our family now. How many of you, by raising your hand, have eaten at my brand new store there on Coliseum Boulevard? Wow, excellent. All right, that's great. I'm going to give these cards to my friend here. Tell me your name? Antonio, yeah, we're old friends. And take one of these. Most of them is for a free side. I just grabbed these as I left the restaurant today. And the ones on the bottom is a free frosted key lime, frosted beverage type of thing. We're doing a limited time offer at Chick-fil-A. So just take one of those. If we run out, I got a few other odds and ends laying here, so, okay? Thanks again for giving up some of your day to come here. Chick-fil-A and I have been partners for about 17 years, as Ben said. I come from Pennsylvania. I'm the middle child of 5. Any other middle children here? Raise your hand. Oh, yeah, it's a real trip, isn't it? I mean, my youngest brother and my oldest brother were babied. My mom, did everything for them, and the 3 kids in the middle, we just kind of raised ourselves. And so came from Pennsylvania, came out to what I thought was going to be 1 year in Fort Wayne. Our pastor back home in Pennsylvania said, go to the Bible college for a year and learn about the Bible. Oh, I can do that for 1 year. So I wanted to go back to Pennsylvania and be a history teacher. I haven't got that done yet, but still working on that maybe. Met my wife in college, And she is a musician. And I went on to seminary because I wanted to hear a different side, not to get too theological right away, but I wanted to hear a different side of the story from Fort Wayne Bible College in Taylor. So I went to a very different viewpoint theologically in Westminster Seminary in Philadelphia. It was Presbyterian. And so I wouldn't trade those years for anything. But wound up doing, long story short, wound up for 20 years, went across the country in a 38-foot motorhome with my wife and 2 kids and another partner we had, a lady. My wife was a trained musician at IU and classically trained, a vocalist, and our partner was a child prodigy on piano, had played as a guest soloist at age 12 with the Chicago Symphony. And here was I, trained theologically, but ended up being like a business manager of our traveling music. I did teaching and preaching and a business manager. Did that for 20 years, and it was wonderful years, tremendous. Met all over the country and into Canada every year. But after, long story short, things were changing and it was time to do something different. That's really a short part of that, but saw an ad in the paper, believe it or not, that Chick-Fil-A was expanding into Fort Wayne, Indiana, needed an operator. So I'm called an owner-operator, and so I applied to Chick-Fil-A trying to get selected to be an operator. Chick-Fil-A, that's how they do it. You have to be selected to be an operator. And at that time, Chick-Fil-A was, right now we're a national chain, but 17 years ago we were pretty much a regional chain, southeast part of the country. 2 out of 3 of our restaurants were in the southeast. And then when we opened in Jefferson Point, after I was selected, we were the northernmost freestanding restaurant in the Chick-fil-A system, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Here was Jeff, could hardly spell the word or pronounce Chick-fil-A. Here I was, the operator of this brand new store. And wouldn't trade was extremely difficult. Boy, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I'll allude to this early on right now. I feel like I'm doing what I've been created to do. That's a great place to be. My son's a professor at Huntington, and a small private college. They don't pay a lot. He's not getting paid very much, but he says, I really love being here. I love my students. I love going to the campus every day and teach. So if you can find out in your life, what God has created you to do, that's what you want to do. No matter what the money is or where you're located, it's a great place to be. And so for 3 years, in this brand new store in the northernmost city that had a freestanding restaurant, we could not raise our sales. $1.5 million for 3 years in a row. And man, my wife says to me, are you sure that you've done the right thing? We couldn't make any money. It was really difficult. And I thought I had to do everything. I thought, I don't view myself as a control freak, but I felt like I had to do everything. For some reason, I didn't trust anybody else to do it. I would run the register, one of the cash registers, every day from 11 to 2. I ran the register. I was really good at it, too. I couldn't possibly bring up a meal today, but, and then I would pay the bills, do the hiring and firing, order the truck supplies, did everything. About 3:30 or 4 o'clock, count the money. About 3:30 every day, I'd start on my list I really wanted to do to expand my business and work on my business. Well, by 3:30, I was worn out, and something else would happen. The fryer would break down, the ice machine would quit making ice, or someone would drive into the drive-through sign outside. And all. So every day it was something that you just couldn't move the needle. But I figured out I had to go. The customers were not coming to me. I had to go get them, and that's what I did. I visited every business in a 3-mile radius of Jefferson Point. I took a catering brochure, took some of these, in those days they were paper, coupons, and I just talked to people. I can talk, hopefully you can figure out, I can talk to anybody about anything. I just talked to people, these little factories, these stores, little businesses, and they'd give me a tour. One guy gave me this tour of his little business. He cuts pipe. Oh, how exciting! You cut pipe. And so I got to meet all these people. And I went to this guy one day. This is a small business, only about 8 employees. He said, well, our guy's kind of like Subway. I said, well, that's fine. Has Subway ever been by here to talk to you? No. Has Subway ever come by and given you some coupons? No. That's okay. That's my point. I'm here. I want your business. And so we started, like I said, our sales were flat. In 1 month, we had a 2.5% sales increase over last year. I said to my wife, where'd that come from? 2.5% more than last year in the same month. And the next month, it was 8% more. And then the next month, it was 9%. And then we just took off. And we had double digit. We just finished at Jefferson Point. Well, in 2012, we got the Chick-Fil-A has this award called a Symbol of Success Award. It's based on 18% sales increase. So we were able to win that in 2012. It's very exciting. And then we've just finished in 2018, 5 years of double-digit sales increases in our restaurant at Jefferson Point. So a lot of this is public knowledge, and so it's just rather than you trying to sit there and guess or try to think. And we did $6.4 million last year at Jefferson Point. And so that's just to give you some context how we went from 1.5. We tripled our business in about 10 years. And through a lot of it, I use the terminology. It's a combination of high tech and high touch. So that's a great thing to remember. My professor friend right here, high tech and high touch. It's a great mixture. I mean, Chick-fil-A has some really wonderful innovations technology-wise. Our app is finally worth using. It's really good, and we have a forecasting model. We have a thing in our restaurant that tells us how many pieces of chicken, those fillets, how many to cook every 15 minutes. It tells us how many to cook based on previous years and weeks of sales data. So I remind, if you ever watched The Office, Michael Scott, took around a gift basket. If you remember that episode, that's kind of low tech. That's what it is. It's high touch. It's touching people where they're at. It's meeting people inside the restaurant or outside the restaurant. It's connecting with people. We're fortunate we have a great product that we sell, the best Chick-fil-A sandwich in the world. And beyond that, beyond the taste, hope you figure out someday, if you haven't already, it's our service that gets you to come back. And service drives our Chick-fil-A bus. And so I value extremely highly service. We want our team members to go above and beyond what is expected, regardless of the circumstances. Whether Jeff is in the restaurant or not, if you work for me, you are required to go above and beyond what's expected, regardless of the circumstances. This is part of my 10 minutes, but I will just tell you, I don't want to fill my restaurant. Technically, we're in the QSR, quick service restaurant. We're in the industry. Chick-fil-A is fast food. We're right there with Arby's and actually Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and so on. We're fast food. We call ourselves premium fast food. But I want to move, and we're trying to move in my restaurant from something called, what I call a fast food amateur, as an employee, a fast food amateur, to a hospitality professional. So I'm after professional type people. Some of you are coming from the, what's it called here at this camp, hospitality program. Help me. I've spoken at your classes. Anyway, that's what I'm after, is hospitality professionals. Across the country in Chick-fil-A, we're hiring, massage therapists and dental hygienists and other kinds of people that have had careers. We're not looking just for someone who wants to make a stop for a few months at a fast food place. I'm interested. You can have a career inside Chick-fil-A. I'll pay you well, and we'll train you and give you opportunity to go on, not just at my local restaurant, but way beyond me. So let me just say this much, and we'll do some questions. I do not like the term, Jeff is a Christian businessman. Just hang on. Okay, I don't like that term. I like the term rather, Jeff is a businessman who runs his business in a Christ-like manner. I feel like I'm called, like if you go to church, you know, your pastor might say he's called to be in the ministry, or a missionary might feel like he's called to go to another country. I feel like I've been called by God to be a businessman. It's a calling. It's all my life. I feel like I just said, I've been created to do this. So I encourage you to find that calling. But I feel like it's a marketplace. The marketplace has called me. And we have young kids come to me all the time, think I'm going to hire them. They'll say, I go to church. Like that's an in to come to be hired. I said, well, that's really great, but let me tell you something. Our founder, Mr. Cathy, he never, and I have never used the word, we are a Christian business. Mr. Cathy would tell you, like I just said, we are a business, first and foremost. Chick-Fil-A wants me to sell chicken. I better be selling lots of chicken. I better be making a profit on those sales. I'm a businessman. And so I make no apologies. We give some tiny discounts to nonprofits, but I'm here. I'm Chick-fil-A Atlanta corporate office is asking me to sell chicken. So I have this calling on my life in the marketplace. And this kid comes and says, you know, you can hire me now. I said, well, listen, we don't have Bible study in the office at 10:30 every morning. Oh, I thought you might. You know, we don't do that. We're here, we want to have a positive impact on everyone who comes in contact with Chick-fil-A. I don't care what you read about Chick-fil-A. Most of it's completely inaccurate, the stuff that's negative. But I want to tell you, we are out to have a positive impact on everyone who comes in contact with us. That's how I like to frame it. You know, if you come in my restaurant, we're going to do our very best to make your day better. Does that make sense? We want to have a positive influence on you. And so I'll stop with this. Last year, I was working on this fast food amateur hospitality thing, and I created this coin. I'll pass it around. It's two sides of my business. It's based on one of Mr. Cathy's books, which was called Eat More Chicken, Inspire More People. So I created this coin. On one side, it has the cows, which the cows say, eat more chicken. The cows say, don't eat me, you know, eat more chicken. So I'm out to sell chicken. I'm out to sell these boxed meals. So that's what one side of that coin says, eat more chicken. The other side says, show people we care. I want to tell you, I'm passionate about sales, but I'm extremely passionate about showing my guests how much we care about them. And here's why. I want to inspire my guests to go home and care for their family and their friends, to see me and my team care for them. So eat more chicken, that's what it's all about. Show people we care, that's what it's all about, even more. And that's you know, we're a restaurant. Showing people we care is a long way from food, okay? That's what I think makes Chick-fil-A so successful. This year, we're going to become the #3 chain in the country. We're going to be behind McDonald's and Starbucks, and that's it. And we're only open 6 days a week. Mr. Cathy, I'll stop with this. You can ask me anything you want. Back in 1946, he and his brother opened up the first restaurant. It's called the Dwarf Grill. Not because it was connected to the 7 dwarfs, but it was so small of a place, they called it the Dwarf Grill. He and his brother opened it up across from the Ford factory on the north side of Atlanta, and he decided to stay open 24 hours. And he got down to Saturday night. They were both exhausted because they had worked 12 hours, taking turns, 12 hours. So they said to each other, this is closed tomorrow. This is closed on Sunday. Okay, it's a good idea, we'll do that. And that's how it really started. Now, it kind of morphed into this opportunity to go to the lake, opportunity to go to church, opportunity to go play golf, which I like to do on Sunday afternoons. But he will tell you that's the best business decision I ever made, was take a day off, a day away from business, a day away from stress. And so Chick-fil-A is going to be #3, like I just said, and we're only open 6 days a week. Every Chick-fil-A across the country is overwhelmed with customers. I mean, it's not, the food is great. I mean, food tastes great, let's be honest. but it's also about the service thing, and showing people we care. All right, I covered a lot of ground there. Sorry, Ben, that was probably about 15 minutes. But I really would prefer you ask me questions, because I got a lot more I'd like to say, but I think I can say it in the context of an answer. So I guess we got to use these microphones, so go ahead. You can ask me anything.
Yeah, my name's Eric Smith. You know, you talk about balancing time. You talk about when you were starting out and you weren't increasing sales,
Yeah.
and you were kind of at the cash register. How do you balance that time now with including making sure like your service is still up to par,
Right.
and everything else? I mean, that's a lot to take in, and especially in the fast food industry where you got to be there when the customer's there.
Right. Yeah, great question. Eric, was it, or Eric?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry. I think for me, the difference is, and this sounds simplistic, I'll try to explain it. In those old days, I was working in my business. Now I'm trying to work on my business. And frankly, I just came to this realization, and this phraseology I'm going to use. I personally can no longer have an impact inside my four walls with my team. I cannot bread chicken anymore. I don't know how to run that grill. We have grilled products too. It's $15,000 for that grill. It's so much electronics to it. You know, it tells you where to. It knows how many pieces of breast meat you're putting on there. I cannot have an impact on in the kitchen. The other day I had to help box nuggets because we get gotten behind. Well, I can do that. I can count to 8 and put I can put 8 nuggets in a box. But the key is I've been able to now to have develop leaders who are passionate and who care about my guests, who care about doing things the right way. So my time is spent developing those leaders. We have 3 basic levels, actually 4 levels of leadership. We have 3 directors. We have about 6 or 7 what we call leads: catering, hospitality, drive-through, and so on. We have shift managers, and then underneath that we have team leaders. So everyone's developing the next level down. So we're working on our business instead of working in our business. And I feel like I have the opportunity now to have even more impact through the leadership, so they can impact the team members.
On average, how many employees do you have per store?
Yeah, that's a great question. How many employees? First of all, I should clarify. I gave up the Jefferson Point store. I walked away. I could have tried if you have 2 stores. The most you can have inside the Chick-Fil-A system is 3. I deliberately chose not to have 2. I wanted one really great store again. I didn't want 2 average stores. And I wanted the new building where the roof didn't leak and new equipment. And the new store is only 1 mile from where I live. That was a big factor. So when I left Jefferson Point, I think I had around 80 employees, anywhere from 4 hours a week, to 60 some hours a week. Last time I counted, about a week ago, I've got 123 employees at my restaurant, and same thing. A couple of them are just a few hours a week, but there's probably 8 or 10 that have 50 or more, and we're still new. We only been open 2 months, so we're still trying to get our overtime under control. But about 123 right now. I'd say your average Chick-fil-A freestanding restaurant, high volume like we are, is anywhere from 100 to 120. That's pretty consistent. A lot of people keep track of them. I got so many people right now. I feel bad about this. I don't know their names. I always have to look at their name tag. Tell me your name. And I get mixed up, but I probably have about 20 people I don't know their name. I do about 25% of the interviews. I have a lady who does most of them, and a couple other people do a few. But they know what I want. And I'll save that. I'll come back to that. Anyway, go ahead.
To finish up on that question, did you take any employees from your previous 2 for efficiency?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're very insightful. Yes, that's a great question and potentially a little bit tricky answer, but we took about 45 people with me. And without going into some of the detail, most of those that came with us, all like 43 out of 45 were either front counter or drive-through special people, maybe dining room. I only brought 2 from the kitchen because we had a situation in the kitchen that I let go a little too long. With most of our people, I think, were not verifiable, legally able to work in the United States. And so when we made a determination to come to the new restaurant, we did a thing called E-Verify. You know what that is? You actually get submitted, and you cannot work if you don't have all the legal paperwork. So that was been the biggest challenge I've had in my new restaurant. I only have 2 or 3 that had kitchen experience, and so if all this business and kitchen people that are trying their very best, but it's so new and so overwhelming that we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 breaded products back there and 2 grilled products, plus all the cold salads and side dishes. So it's a big deal in the kitchen. For 45 people, really helped. When I opened my first store, I was the only one that had ever even been inside of a Chick-Fil-A. And I had only been there 3 weeks, so it was crazy. Good questions. Okay, my new Chick-fil-A friend.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Mimi.
Mimi?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my question is, as a student who is also finding her calling, you made mention of the fact that Chick-fil-A is your calling.
Yes.
So how did you know that?
Yeah.
Was it a feeling
Yeah.
or a realization that it was
Yeah.
your calling?
It's a great question. Not sure I can answer it completely, but she's asking how did I know Chick-fil-A was my calling, okay? I think from early on in my family, serving others has been a big thing. I mean, when I was little, back in Pennsylvania, we went to church all the time, and my dad was a blue-collar worker, if you don't know what that means. He just worked in a factory. And he went only, I think, to the 9th or 10th grade in school, had 5 children. I was the middle child, and he worked hard. Yet, with all those kids and with all that hard work, he had serving others, serving God and serving others as a really important part of his life. And I can remember back in those days, very few people have Sunday night church service anymore, but back when I was little, we went to church Sunday morning and we come back on Sunday night. Like we're trying to, I don't mean any disrespect, Lord forgive me, but like we're trying to get points, to get to heaven. We went to church twice today. But I can remember my dad, he had all these kids, and at the time it was an offering and Sunday night service. He'd take out his wallet, I can remember many times putting in his last $5 bill that he had in his wallet into the offering plate. And so I got this idea of serving, way back from my parents. My mom, she tells the story. We had this little church, and this family came to talk about their mission, like in New Guinea, I think, way on the other side of the world. And they had no place to go. They stayed with us. My mom said it was 12 nights. Well, I don't remember, but I know it was a long time. They had no place to go, but my mom, they had like 6 kids, and my mom hosted these people for like almost 2 weeks. So that's the kind of thing that I saw. So Chick-fil-A gives me an opportunity to have an impact on others, to serve others. There's nothing I like better than you're eating with me there, and you try to get out of your seat to get some napkins from the condiment bar. I can say, oh no, I'll get them for you. I know where they're at. Part of my reason is I don't want another person walking around in my crowded store. We've already got too many people walking around. Sit down, let me get them for you. I know where they're at. They're not you wandering around. But I get to serve him that way. That's what really zings me. It really zings me. And so there's, obviously, I don't know who's all here, people of faith or not, it doesn't matter, but, we're in the season of Lent in the Christian church year. We're marching towards Easter, and Jesus did a pretty good job of serving, and so that's what inspires me. I love serving other people. So this is part of who I am. It's all been confirmed because I have a chance to do that inside Chick-Fil-A. Does that make sense? I'll just say this to answer that completely. I can remember a day, Mimi, when at my other restaurant, early on, I'd come in the back door, I'd put that key in the back door, and I would dread turning that key. Because I had to go in and face all the stuff, all the details. But now, I don't go in the back door anymore. First of all, I go in the front door. But I don't have to worry about going in, because I have people there caring about my restaurant, caring about our guests the way I do.
In regards to the specialization, total quality management issue, what were the steps necessary to resolve it? You mentioned that initially you were doing a whole lot of different tasks all at once.
Yeah. How did I learn to hand it off type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to hand something off when you feel like the person you feel like you don't have anybody you can hand it off to who cares about it as much as you do. I think that's why I hung on to it. I cared about it so much. And let's see, about 5 or 6 years into this whole thing, I hired a guy who I had met 30 years previous, believe it or not. At that time, I mentioned we traveled across the country in a 38-foot motorhome. He had worked on my motorhome. He didn't turn the wrenches, but he worked for the RV dealer. And he had left that job and opened up, his own restaurant in Auburn called Pancho Kelly's. It was a Mexican restaurant. And he left there and was looking for a job. So long story, I hired him. And he was the first person I hired, maybe the second person I hired in those 5 years, who cared about this restaurant the way I cared about it. All of a sudden, I had somebody else that I could hand some stuff off to. And then I had a young lady who, as it turned out, married my son. She came to me, a 16-year-old young lady from Southside High School, and she cared about Chick-fil-A. Still does. She still does part-time work for me. And so she evolved into, she tried nursing, but she found out she didn't like nursing. She came back to Chick-fil-A. And she became, long story, she became my general manager, and I could trust Angie with my restaurant. So that was the key. And that's the whole thing. Finding people that you can trust, that you can hand something over to, and they're not going to butcher it. Therefore, you can't hire just anybody. I mean, I'm finding this out. There's another thing I would say to you right now. We were so desperate for people, trying to hire 120 people. We opened with about 95 people in January. But some of the people I hired, they never told me this, but this is what I had to figure out. Chick-fil-A was just one stop on their fast food journey. They had worked at McDonald's, they had worked at Taco Bell, and now they're going to try Chick-fil-A. Well, it doesn't work. I mean, we're a different animal. I hired a guy, he told me he was a shift manager at Taco Bell. If you work at some of these places, I'm not putting you down, it's just different. He said he's a shift manager. Well, I found out the shift that he managed was himself and one other person at night, just 2 people. Well, I was home the other Saturday. I had to go home for a while in the afternoon. I got on my iPad and counted up. I had 40 people clocked in like Saturday at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. It's a different animal. So you got to find people that you can trust and you turn things over to. And I'll just say this: if you're trying to hire somebody, if it's not a definite yes, then it's a definite no. I am too busy and too It's too important. I don't have time. And I feel bad about this on one hand. I don't have time to give somebody a chance. Let's just see how it goes. Let's just give them. People call me all the time. Can you hire my friend? He just needs a break in life. And, well, I can't. You know, I've got. You know, we fed the Air National Guard back in February in this brand new store, 650 of these boxes. They went them all at once. That was fun. Cooking 650 pieces of chicken and not have it lay there for 5 hours. You know, I'm too busy. I can't give you a chance. I got to have you hit the ground running once you're trained. You got to roll. Hope that makes sense without sounding too mean. Okay?
So it's obvious to see like your passion and
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
to serving people, and to me, I think that can go so far. So like, how do you invest in yourself
Yeah.
in order to pour out to those other people?
It's a great question, very perceptive. I just read something, almost every Chick-Fil-A operator, as I already alluded to, all of our restaurants are just overwhelmed. There's 12 restaurants in the greater Indianapolis area, 12 Chick-fil-A's. And as a market, they had a 40% increase in February over last February. 40%? As all together. So you're exactly right. How in the world do you keep yourself fueled up, you know, emotionally and spiritually and physically? I just read some of that. We have a. I know you're young and you may not do Facebook anymore, but we have an operator Facebook forum, and a guy put on there about 10 days ago the importance of keeping all areas in good shape. So to answer your question, physically, I used to run quite often. Now I sort of run/walk about 3 or 4 times a week, about 1.5 miles to 2 miles every mornings. And I have, now that it's getting warmer finally, I have a really cool bike that is a 3-speed, but you can't stand up on it. The pedals are like forward somehow. You can't stand up on it, so you got to ride sitting down all over. So we go in the neighborhood with the bike or run. My wife and I just got back from Arizona. We do a little hiking out there, or else we've both gone to the Rocky Mountain National Park 4 years in a row. Do some, I say hiking, 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Not revolving days, but so physically we try to do exercise. You know, spiritually, if you're in church at all, you know we're in the season of Lent, and so it's a season where you realize how really rotten you are at your core, and so do a lot of extra thinking and reading right now, different study guides and stuff. Emotionally, you know, my wife's my best friend. She is, I would say, responsible for most of my success. She's not afraid to tell me, "Are you married, my friend? Have you been married?" And my wife tells me what's wrong. So, you know, I get mad, not really mad, frustrated, and then find out later, you're right, I got to change this about my restaurant. So we have that kind of emotional support and great family. You know, financially, we try to, as part of it, financially, we try to be generous with what we've been given. So I hope that's covered all there. Socially, you know, we go to 2 churches. It's like extra credit, you know. And we don't do real well with social stuff outside of our family, but we try hard to keep all these areas, try to input all these areas.
Yeah, so I've got 2 smaller questions for you. The first one is about how you interact with the franchisors and the other owner-operators. What that ecosystem looks like. I know it's not the same as in the store.
Yeah.
And then the other one is about hiring family and how you manage that dynamic.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so the operator family, the other franchise, we're called owner operators. Actually, in the past about 3 years, we are using the word franchisee more. We're not a typical franchise. Let me take a moment to talk about that because a lot of people ask that. And of course, if you read about it on the internet, you know it's true. You know, what you read about Chick-fil-A franchise. $10,000 is all that's required for the Chick-fil-A franchise fee. And that's the easiest part of it. $10,000 is the easiest part, let me tell you. Trying to get selected, because Chick-fil-A, we're a privately owned company, and they select all their operators. They decide where to build the restaurants, when they're going to open, and who's going to run them, all decided by Chick-fil-A. So like you, Antonio, my friend, you can't say, I'm going to put a Chick-fil-A in Huntington. You know, I've got $500,000, put Chick-fil-A in Huntington. Not going to happen, my friend, because Chick-fil-A decides where to put it, okay? And we are building 120 new stores a year right now. For the past 3 years, 120. That's huge. So here's the thing. I'm called an operator. There's about 1,600 of us in the country. That's it. It's a small group, actually. And we have about 2,200 restaurants, roughly 2,300. That's the freestanding restaurants with drive-throughs. We have about, we have about 290 mall locations, like Glenbrook Mall. When I started 16 years ago, we had 600 mall locations. And they just gradually, these malls are dying out. We have a handful of something like a Rally's, maybe like 35 drive-through onlys, you know, where there's no dining room, it's just drive-through on both sides. And then we have about, I forget, I don't know where I'm at, 200 or 300, they're called licensee locations, and they are inside airports, college campuses, like Taylor University, Indiana Wesleyan. I'd love to get one here, PFW. And actually, we're in extremely early discussion with St. Francis. I don't know if it'll develop into a licensee, but there's some other smaller versions that perhaps might work there. But so it's divided into operator teams. I am in the Northern Indiana operator team. There's only 6 restaurants. Since I opened, now there's 6. 3 in South Bend area and 3 here in Fort Wayne. That's our Northern Indiana operator team. I'm part of the Midwest region. It's about 9 states. You know, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Ohio, Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. We've got about 175, 180 restaurants in our region. There's 7 regions in the country in Chick-fil-A. And so it's divided up that way. The operator, we meet, we just got back from Anaheim. It was 6,900 people at our Chick-fil-A convention for 3 nights, all in the same room for the main sessions. That was crazy. At Anaheim Convention Center, I guess it was called. So we have that every year. That's a chance to see new development, new products. And then we have a Midwest Region Summit every year. So that's kind of our connection. You know, the operator that's coming to take over Jefferson Point restaurant is in training right now. I met him, I know him a little bit. And the young lady at Glenbrook Mall, her name is Kaylee. It's just us 3 in Fort Wayne. So we're not really developed into anything yet. Once he gets here, Kaylee's only been an operator for not even a year and a half. So I'm like the old guy. So see what happens there. But that's kind of a structure for you, okay?
Then family, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fine.
okay. But ask me that part again about the.
Yeah, so how do you manage the different relationships? You said, I want to say your daughter-in-law
Yeah.
is a manager at the store. How does that work
Yeah.
as family and employee?
Yeah. That's a great question. What's your name?
Zach.
Zach. Yeah. I have said many times, even though we are a chain restaurant, I want a family feel in my restaurant. I want a mom and pop feel, if you get that terminology. I want you to come in and feel, wow, it's really cool in here. You know, I feel at home here. I feel like every year I change my themes. One year I said I want to have an oasis. And the world out there beyond Chick-fil-A walls is dry, it's hot, it's stressful. Come into Chick-fil-A, we really are an oasis for you. So, I want this mom and pop feel. Part of that is, for me, is having family. And I don't make any apologies about it. Right now, at this moment, let me back up. My wife, when we opened, she has worn every hat that I've needed in the restaurant. When we opened, I needed, what did she start with? I think she started with marketing. I sent her to Atlanta twice for the marketing class, an advanced marketing class. She morphed into training director, and then when we left Jefferson Point, she was what we call food and quality director. So she's been involved, but now she's a grandma and she's doing her thing with these grandkids. But my son-in-law is what you would know as my general manager. My son-in-law, his title is director of stewardship. His wife, my daughter, who's going to have a baby here in a couple of weeks, she could do anything. She's a graduate of DePaul University in Greencastle. She could do anything, extremely gifted. And she wanted to work a little bit, so I created a place and title for her. She's the project lead. So anything I didn't want to do or didn't have time to do, she would do it. She's a project lead. And right now she's working more in HR and onboarding and things like that. And then my daughter-in-law you alluded to is actually our finance lead or office manager. So I have these three, and so we have to be careful to get to the answer. We have to be careful when we go out for brunch on Sunday that we don't talk about Chick-fil-A the whole time when we're trying to eat our food. We try not to. Or if we have a family, get together, we consciously try not to go into the business. Sometimes you have to, but I would say that it has not been a conflict, family and business, at least not yet in our situation. Okay. I also have my sister-in-law, who's a catering assistant. I have a catering lead. My sister-in-law is helping with catering, and we just hired her daughter, my niece. Catering's it's like a wild horse. It's hard to get a hold of. And so now we have two assistants underneath the catering lead, so they're working that. But for us so far, it has not been an issue. We catch ourselves. No more Chick-fil-A talkers tonight. Let's just stop.
So earlier in your conversation, you were saying that you had this sense of having to feel control of everything.
Yeah.
And you just spoke of your family, so much engagement.
Yes.
Do you think that might be a way of segueing away from you only being able to control it? And then also you had stated about you could have had the opportunity to have up to 3 restaurants.
Yes.
And you pulled back to 1.
Right.
Is that still, in your mind, possibly a way of controlling?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't think it's. I've never said this to Chick-fil-A, and we could almost stop the tape for a moment, but I didn't feel like I wanted to go into 2 restaurants at my age. I never said that to Chick-fil-A because I didn't want to let them know that one's enough. But I'm 63 years old. I didn't want to have 2 restaurants. I got grandkids, and I want to go to Colorado. And so it's not about trying to be in control of one. I'll tell you, the last 2 things I thought about that I thought were really important that I wanted to talk to my general manager about. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm already thinking about that." And so these people, they're scary. They read your mind, and we're trying to make a provision. I'm going to answer the other part of your question, but one of the things I'm starting to talk about to my leadership, I'm calling it the road to $9 million. The road to $9 million. That's what we're after. It's a 4-year journey down this road. I can't do that with the numbers of leadership I have now. I'm going to need more directors, more shift managers. I'm going to need a drive-through At Jefferson Point, our record was 159 cars in 1 hour. We've already got to 144 in the first 6 weeks of being open. But to get to that kind of sales dollars, I'm going to need 200 cars an hour for a couple hours there every day. So there's a lot to think about. So I don't think going to one store is related to trying to be in control. That answers that part. And what was the other part of your question? Family.
Yeah, I think that's what I was alluding to is putting your family in those key positions helps you to be able to pull away and have a comfort that it's going to be ran the way you want it.
I would say that's partially true, 20% true, okay? But of the 3 top positions, only 1 is family. The other 2, my one gal came from Arby's. She's been with me only a year and a half. Fantastic. She gets Chick-Fil-A now. She gets what I want. And I would say in the past few weeks, there have been a half dozen times when I've asked her about something and she's already thinking about it, I was already taking care of it. And the other guy, it's a miracle. My other top leader, I found out, I just asked him yesterday, he's been with Chick-fil-A 14 and a half years. I hired this guy as a senior in high school. Long story, he wound up in South Bend. He wanted to be a youth pastor. He did that for a while, but it didn't work out. He was a food director at a Chick-fil-A in South Bend. And when I was getting ready to leave Jefferson Point, extremely difficult decision I had to make, which makes me almost short of breath thinking about it right now, but I had my general manager and my kitchen director at Jefferson Point. I had to tell them they weren't coming with me after they had been planning to come with me to Coliseum Boulevard, for a year. I had to tell them, you're not coming. It's not going to work. They weren't the right people. And I said this to this kitchen director on a Monday. On Tuesday night, I found out that Tim, my now current kitchen director, his wife took a job back here in Fort Wayne from South Bend. His wife's coming back to run a preschool somewhere here, and he's now available. I need a kitchen director, and he's now available. And in South Bend, the store he was at got something called Guardian of the Brand. They got an elite status on food safety. There was only 61 restaurants in our chain last year, and it got this elite status on food safety. And he was one of them. He was a kitchen director. And so it all worked out. And so my 2 of my top 3 people are nowhere near family, So that's a very perceptive question, but I don't think it's my way of dishing out the responsibilities. Yet I still have my hand in it. In fact, my daughter tells me, "Dad, we got it. You don't need to worry about it. We got it." So in some way that less input into her than I would otherwise. Very good question. Appreciate it. Hope that makes sense. Are you guys following me, or am I just talking? No, you're following me. Okay.
Nancy Hunt, Talk Management Marketing.
Okay.
So first of all, I really appreciate your time to share your inspiring story with us today. And I have pretty much 2 mini questions that I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
One, from your story, there's lots of success stories that you share.
Yes.
You have great leaders in your business to help you. You hire people that you trust that can live up to the culture of your business to show people that you care. You grow companies from 1.5 million to 6.4.
Yes.
Are there any challenges in your life that you could share with us? And then if so, what have you done to overcome it?
Boy, that's a pretty heavy question. I would say to you, the biggest challenge in what I do is the people the people portion of my business. Let me explain that. If I could take the people and the issues that come with hiring people out of my business, nothing to it. We're just ringing in orders, we're bread and chicken, and we're selling chicken. That's all it is. But you have people that are disrespectful to authority that you've hired and disrespect their supervisors, or they call off 4 times in 1 week. My grandfather died, my car didn't start, my tire is flat, my child is sick. And some of that may be true, some of it may not be true, and those are challenges from the people side. The other challenge, I think, for me, I should have my wife really answer this, but it still is a challenge to, I think I'm finally getting a hold of this though. It's a challenge to let go. It's a big challenge to, continue to walk in giving the restaurant over to other people to run it. It's a big challenge. And then I am naturally, for those 20 years that we traveled, as I mentioned, in the motorhome, going around, my life was consumed with details. We did lots of like ladies, like a day away for ladies, or a lecture for ladies. We would do the music. I would meet with these committees. They would plan their day, and I would do the details. I ran the sound system. I would produce 16 recording projects. I would do it all that related to that, and did all kinds of details. And in Chick-fil-A now, really details are not part of what I'm supposed to do. So it's a big challenge for me to keep my head in long-term thinking, long-range planning, and I'm not very good at it yet. So that's my biggest challenge, is to stay out of the weeds. If you understand that analogy, stay out of the weeds and try to, stay up. What's the rest of that? Stay out of the weeds and be out in the ocean, I guess. But that's a big challenge for me. So my wife reminds me constantly, I don't need to worry about that. So, and for years and years, my friend, I would read books on leadership. And frankly, you read 10 books on leadership, there's 10 different views of leadership. I got so confused on what is a leader. I can't even hardly answer that. It's so confusing. But I'm trying to get past that now and know that what works for me may not work for you, but feel strongly about the things I've said today about being a businessman, being called to this, and so on. So.
That's a very great answer
Oh, good.
that I'll share with my husband too.
Okay.
With his family business,
Yeah.
with lots of insights that I learned today
Yeah.
that I can share with him. My next question is about, you're talking about high touch, and that's the key for our service industry.
Absolutely.
And I'm so lucky that I got a chance to hold that special coin. And I read very carefully on the site that you say, show people we care. And that's my question. It seems simple when you see it, but how do you know that you hired the right people that can
that's
show
great.
it? And how do you inspire them
Right.
to carry on that?
It's a great question. I've answered this lots of times. People ask, where do you find all your people that you've hired? They seem really good. We don't hire for, I'm not sure what the terminology is in the leadership book. We don't hire for tasks. We hire for attitude. I can teach you how to. You come over. I can teach you how to bread chicken. I can teach you how to do it. I cannot teach honesty. I cannot teach integrity. I cannot teach character. I can teach a little bit, but you have to have at least a kernel of servant-mindedness in your spirit in your body before you come to work for me. You got to have at least a little kernel of serving others. Every interview that I do, I ask, tell me about a time when you went out of your way to help somebody else or to serve somebody else. I ask that every interview. So we have to have a kernel, a little tiny portion of servant-mindedness. And that's where we would start with hiring. I would say to you, if I've been around a long time, I can tell within 2 minutes of an interview or less if the person's going to work out or not. You just know. And so we do, in spite of what I said earlier, we do give people sometimes give them a half a chance. Try to, hope maybe we can teach them a little bit. But again, if it's not a definite yes, it should be a definite no on hiring. So I do want to go a little bit further, not necessarily a direct answer to you, but I would always say a word about serving and serving others. In Chick-Fil-A, this would be a great takeaway for you. If there'd be an exam, this would be on the exam, okay? There's what we call the core four in Chick-fil-A. How to engage people, core four. Eye contact, share a smile, speak enthusiastically, stay connected from the heart. There's even hand motions, as you just saw. Eye contact, share a smile, speak enthusiastically, and stay connected from the heart. These are our core four of how we want to engage with people. If you are interviewing with me and you do not make eye contact with me, you're not going to get hired. Why would I hire you if you're not going to look at me? Why would I put you in the front line counter in my business and you will not look at my guest? Not going to happen. You got to make eye contact. You've been in these places where people talk to you. You're there and they're talking over here. I went to I won't say where since it's on tape. I went to a big box retailer one night. My wife sent me out. And I went into this place and I walked up to this lady from this way. She's coming from this way. She has her mouse looking at her computer. And I'm over here. She said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Well, yeah, you can help me." She said, "How can I help you?" Well, I just stopped talking. I wasn't going to talk to her if she wasn't looking at me. That's stupid. I don't do that. So you got to make eye contact. It's very, very important. And so if you got younger brothers and sisters at home that are 16 want to get a job, you got to make eye contact with the interviewer. And you got to, when you're on the front line, you got to smile. And when you're in the drive-through on the headset, you got to speak enthusiastically. I had a kid that was on the headset. He was young. We hire 14 and 15-year-olds. They can only work 3 hours a day, so I put him on the headset. He said, I won't use his real name. He would say, "Welcome to Chick-fil-A. My name is Jeff. How can I help you?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't put this guy on the headset." So I put him in the kitchen, and long story, but he shined in the kitchen. He became a team leader. He didn't have to deal with people. He only had a few people back there. He got his work done, got the chicken out fast, and then stayed connected. We teach our people. We do a thing called table touch-ins. Like if you come and order, you go sit down. We try to go touch into that table. When I do it, I actually touch the table. I'm going to touch it and see if everything's okay. And then, anyway, that's just the extra measure that we add above and beyond, what we call above and beyond service. So if you want to apply to Chick-fil-A, I'm going to give you the www. I'd love to have some of you guys. www.coliseumjobs.com. www.coliseumjobs.com. And we are completely paperless. Now, a 63-year-old guy, at our old store, we had a yellow form for pickup, green form for delivery. We own so many colors and stuff, all these papers. It's all gone. Everything's paperless. So we have an onboarding software. And so it's really easy for you guys to do that. Is there anything else I have to say? Oh, I'll close with this. I know we're getting out of it. Are we okay
That's
for a moment?
perfect. No, yeah,
Okay.
please
I wanted to say, the very first lecture, when I went to training in Chick-Fil-A in Atlanta, 17 years ago now, our president quoted Ben Franklin. And I don't think of Ben Franklin as much of a restaurateur, but Ben Franklin said, the handshake of the host enhances the taste of the roast. So some of that why I was in there so much was I wanted to shake hands with my guests. Maybe not literally, but I wanted to welcome them and talk to them. Because I know that made the food taste better. You know, you've been in places where the food was great, but the service was so lousy, it just ruined your whole experience. So I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to shake hands, at least figuratively, with my guests, so I could enhance their experience. Let's see here. Then Mr. Cathy, I'll stop with this one. Our founder, he died about 4 years ago. He's 92. You know, the first Chick-fil-A restaurant wasn't called Chick-fil-A. It was 1946. First Chick-fil-A restaurant, 1967. First freestanding restaurant in 88. And all kinds of innovation in the restaurant business with products and stuff. He said, courtesy is cheap, but it pays great dividends. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. It costs you nothing to be nice. If you're nice to somebody, man, it pays great dividends. People come back. I mean, if you only came to my restaurant once, never came back, oh, that'd be depressing for me. I couldn't take that. That'd be a charter beacon, you know, for depression. And so you got to come back. And courtesy gets people back there. I know people by name. I know lots of my guests by name. I know where they work. I know their kids. And so that's what we want. That's that mom and pop feel that we want. Okay, how are we doing?
Great. Let's thank Jeff for coming.
Okay. Thank you. It is my pleasure.
That's right. It's his pleasure, right? Have you noticed that whenever you come through and say thank you, they always respond with
I'm
my
going to tell you one more thing. I can't go without saying this. I hear that everywhere now. Really, at the bank or other restaurants, you hear, oh, it's my pleasure. So I went to the drive-up bank 2 years ago, and I made my deposit, you know, through the drive-up, and the teller said, is there anything else I can do for you today, Mr. Hoffman? I have the time. And she has time. She had time for me. She's asking me, I have time for you. I'm thinking, wow, that's so cool. I'm always watching for these kind of things. So this is all happening, you know, in half a second. I'm trying to think, what can I get this lady to do for me? You know, maybe check the balance on my savings or something. You know, I couldn't think that fast. I should have. But anyway, that's the key. That's going above and beyond what's expected. My pleasure. Mr. Cathy said, if you can only say 2 words to somebody today, don't say you're welcome or no problem or grunt at them. Just say it's my pleasure. And that really has an impact. That's what our culture, I think my pleasure defines the Chick-fil-A culture. I really do. So, I'll be quiet.
Well, thanks for coming today, everybody. Don't forget, if you'd like to receive that devotional I told you about, just sign up in the back. There's literature there. If you'd like to take a water or a soft drink, go to the walker to do that. And if you have another question for Jeff, he might be willing to answer a couple before he leaves. So, thanks for coming. We'll have another one of these luncheons next fall. Okay?